welcome to the CDG BizCast. I'm your host, Christian Gonzalez, owner of Creativity Design Group, a digital marketing firm in Houston, Texas. In this episode, we revisit the amazing topic of direct marketing, which we recently covered in episode 76. This time, we will cover how direct marketing can be done through your website or on social media. The amazing John Dwyer, or JD, of the Institute of Wow joins us once again to discuss how offering incentives can easily boost sales for your small business. If you have not checked out that episode, I highly recommend listening to that one first before listening to this one to fully understand the concept of direct marketing. Offering incentives should never be limited to just in-store promotions. You can use direct marketing to boost sales online, and we are going to discuss exactly how to do it. JD, welcome back to BizCast, and thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you, Christian. It's a real privilege to be invited back again. Normally, I only get invited to things once, and then nobody wants me to come back again. So this is absolutely unique.
I certainly don't understand why. You're an amazing guest. A lot of people can learn from you. And I actually plan on having you on the show more often because your style of marketing is just so unique. You won't learn it anywhere else. And a lot of people just don't understand the power of incentives. Maybe they feel that they're being too pushy or they're trying to get someone to buy just by giving them a free gift. But that's not what it's about at all. Whenever you offer an incentive, you're telling your customer that it means the world, that they chose your business over somebody else. And that gift that you give them, that metaphorical Happy Meal toy that we've discussed in the previous episode, is really just a gift to show them that we feel beyond honored that you chose our business over a competitor's.
Yes, no, you're right. And look, Disney calls it +1. Okay, so I've done a lot of courses at the Disney Institute in Florida, even though I'm from Australia, as you can tell from the accent. Over the years, I spent a lot of time at the Disney Institute in Orlando. And a lot of people don't realize that Disney has their own university. And what happened there is that they'd bring the Imagineers in and they would show you, it would be a week-long course. So you'd pay Walt Disney to stay there for a week, and then they would have the Imagineers, which is what they call their creative team, show you how to blow people's mind, how to, go the extra mile and how to run your business like Disney. And Walt Disney himself, apparently, many, many years ago, said, no matter what you do, go as far as you possibly could in terms of customer service and then +1. So Disney calls it the +1. I call it Wow Factor because our business is called the Institute of Wow.com. Same thing, no matter what you call it. You can call it Gosh Factor, you can call it what you like, but it's purely and simply going the extra mile when they don't expect it.
And going the extra mile is something that many business owners should always strive for, whether they have attended classes to learn more about customer service or took extensive coursework like you did with the Walt Disney Institute. I can't stress enough the importance of ensuring that every business owner and all their employees and staff bring their A game when it comes to serving their customers. Because when customers are speaking the world about your business or leaving 5-star reviews or telling their friends and family, that's what's going to separate your company from the competitors. And I want to jump right into discussing the power of offering incentives. So back in episode 76, we discussed how the power of offering incentives has boosted sales for many of your past clients, both for corporations and small businesses. How many business owners have realized how much of a boon it was for their sale to offer incentives?
Oh, look, most of our clients have gained not good results, not very good, but rather extraordinary results. And I know it sounds self-serving for me to show off and say that, but to me, it's a bit like, I'm the worst handyman in the world. Okay, so therefore, my wife has had to, bring handyman in whenever a hinge on a door fell off or, something happened that needed a little bit of, sort of tradesman skills. I'm hopeless. In fact, I go to a hardware store on the weekend just to look like a man. So anyway, as it turns out, that lesson has taught me that, if you've got a sore tooth, go to a dentist. And so whenever my wife would say, look, you can't fix a hinge on a door, I'd say, hey, got a sore tooth, go to a dentist. Okay, go and get a tradesman. And the way I look at it is that most people who went into business because they're a good technician at whatever they do. They're a great butcher, baker, candlestick maker. But at college or university, no one's ever taught them how to get a customer. No one has ever taught them how to get a customer. And so therefore, we have businesses that just basically knock on our door and say to us that they've been in business for 5 years. They winged it. In other words, they open up their door and, and whether it be digital or whether it be bricks and mortar, and they've struggled through the first 5 years, but they can't get any further. And the way I look at it is if you live by that mantra, if you've got a sore tooth, go to a dentist. In the game of marketing, if you aren't getting enough customers and you're not good at marketing, and most people aren't, then come to someone who's done it for 1,000 years. And that's what we do. We have a pretty good track record. So most of the businesses that come to us get a pretty good result. Not always. I mean, there's variables that we can't control. They might have a bad product. They might be wearing an ankle bracelet. I don't know. But for the most part, yeah, the businesses that knock on our door, they do pretty well.
And you're exactly right about about if you have a sore tooth, go to the dentist. It is important to put these types of projects in the hands of professionals. And when it comes to getting customers, you're absolutely right. They do not teach anything about that in college unless you're taking a course on entrepreneurship or marketing. If you major in marketing, they'll teach you all the information you need to know about what it takes to get customers. But even in school, it's very basic coursework. They're not going to truly learn that wow factor in college. I mean, even when I was in college, they gave us one marketing class. The professor was not very good. All we did was sit and listen to the professor show off slides and basically repeat whatever was in the textbook. You don't learn any real world skills simply by just sitting in class listening to lectures from textbook lessons. And
in college, as you know, is a waste of time. In certain subjects, it's not if you're going to become a doctor or a dentist, obviously, but where it's an industry like marketing, really, most of those teachers have been teaching for 10 or 20 or 30 years. They haven't been out in the real world. So when it comes to marketing, I've found that, most of the courses are completely useless. I'll give you an example of just how quick a marketing campaign can work for someone. I was doing a Zoom meeting yesterday for a group of people who are in my mastermind club, and there was a newbie who came on board. And this particular guy's name is Troy. And I just had a look at my Facebook feeds this morning, and he's on a video on the Facebook feed giving me a huge pat on the back. And the reason was that yesterday when he was on a group call with about a dozen other people, he said to me, JD, look, I've just bought a business close to where he lives outside of Sydney, and it's a rock climbing business for children. It's got other activities too, but the big thing is the rock climbing. Now, he's paid $400,000 for this business. It's been going for a little while, but it's not been going very well. And he said he would love to take it to another level, and he thinks he can. And he said, have I got any ideas? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Just call it the Superheroes Rock Climbing Centre. And he said, what? Because he told me his target audience are obviously children, okay? And he said, what are you talking about? I said, look, I always look to exploit the equity of something that you don't have to pay for. For example, if Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise or Mel Gibson came into my cafe, I would walk up to them with a video camera and I'd say, guys, your meal is on us. Now, it doesn't matter how rich they are. When the person from the restaurant says the meal's on us, they feel obligated. And then I just say to them, how was the meal? And they go, it was just fantastic, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? I can use that interview, that 30 seconds or 60 seconds on social media for the rest of my life and say, Mel Gibson thinks this is the best meal he's ever had. Why wouldn't you come to this cafe? So I said to him the same thing with the rock climbing centre. If you want to attract children, just turn all your staff members into superheroes. They will all wear the look-alike Superman and Batman and, these days with all the Marvel characters and DC, whatever character you want, as long as you don't use the trademark S for Superman or whoever it is. And there's lots of companies out there running superhero birthday parties for children. They don't pay any royalty to Warner Brothers, okay? The thing is that you can use the equity of some of these things without paying money. Anyway, cut long story short, this morning on social media, he's all over the shop on video saying to me, it's not to me, but to anyone, I was on this, Zoom call mastermind yesterday, and I got this idea virtually for free. This is going to make me a fortune. So that's just an example of what happens when you hang around creative people. Creative people tend to think outside the box.
Yes, that's correct. Creative people are great at thinking outside the box to take concepts to the next level. And I'm glad you shared that story with me because that leads me right into my first question. That was a fantastic example. Now all of our listeners are going to want to know, how can businesses utilize social media to offer incentives? Just like how you described there, what types of content or methods help promote incentives the most effectively in a social media marketing campaign?
Sure. Okay. Well, we know that it's 4 seconds. It's probably 2 seconds these days, but the conventional wisdom in the last 10 years has been you've got 4 seconds to grab their attention on the scroll. It's probably half of that. I mean, you're in the game, so you'd know it's probably 2 seconds these days. So, of course, the video or the image is absolutely vital to capture their attention. And, of course, the headline has to be an Elvis-found headline. I keep on using that phrase because it's easy. People know that if you're walking past a newspaper stand and the headline was Elvis found, then there's a pretty good chance that you buy the newspaper. And that's what you need on social media. You need an Elvis found headline. And that normally would be something like problem solution. So in other words, if it was a weight loss company, and Facebook won't let you do before and after photos these days, but nonetheless, just use it as an example, where you would say, if you'd like to lose X pounds in 14 weeks, then stop the scroll. Okay, we can show you how to do that. So it has to be normally a problem solution headline, or an Elvis found headline might be, for example, voted #1 restaurant in Texas. And why people don't use that more often, I'll never know, because it's really easy to have that headline. We had a restaurant client here on the Gold Coast in Australia, and he served the best coffee I have ever tasted. You know how like Seinfeld has that show, comedians in cars getting coffee? And Seinfeld was on one of the Tonight shows recently saying that, and it was all a gag, of course, but he loves his coffee. He said, the best invention in the world is not electricity, it was coffee, right? And I'm a bit of a snob. I will drive an extra mile or two if it was a good cup of coffee. And so this particular client said to me, "Oh, look, what should we do?" And I said, "Mate, can I just ask you one thing? I've just had a cup of coffee at your restaurant," or cafe it was. And I said to him, "It's the best coffee I've ever tasted." He said, "Well, it should be. We pay a fortune for the beans." He said the coffee company that he uses, they charge a fortune for this particular brand of coffee. And I said, "Okay, well, why don't you tell people you got the best coffee in town?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look, stop there for a minute." So I walked up to a table of 4 ladies in their tennis outfits. This was a rather snobby Beverly Hills sort of suburb in Australia. And these ladies were in their tennis outfits. They've just played their tennis and they come to get a coffee after the game. And I said to them, "Girls, can I just ask you a question?" And I had my camera out, my phone. Okay, so I'm videoing it. And I said, "Can I ask you, who thinks this is the best coffee on the Gold Coast?" And every one of them said, "Oh, we do. It's fantastic. It's fantastic." And I walked over to him. I said, "There's your headline. Voted number 1 coffee on the Gold Coast." So we changed all of his social media ads to be voted number 1 coffee on the Gold Coast. Now, nobody asks you the sample size, which is 4. He had people thereafter, instantly the day after. I mean, we put beautiful pictures of coffee. So, the best coffee pictures you've ever seen, we put on social media. But it was voted number 1 coffee on the Gold Coast. And guess what? He had people the next day driving more than 10 miles to come to his coffee shop because they wanted to taste the best coffee on the Gold Coast.
That's an incredible story. See, it's little things like that could really boost sales. When people realize that there truly is a 5-star product involved, like it's the best, then it's going to draw people in. And I've actually practiced this exact same advice that you're discussing here with our recent website redesign. So we did launch a new website for CDG this year, and one of the headlines on the homepage says 5-star web design in Houston. And that's not a lie, because all of our reviews on Google are all 5-star reviews. We don't have any 4 stars or anything less than that. They're all 5 stars. So I just realized that I was practicing your advice before you even told it to me now.
Well, good on you. And look, the thing is that there's nothing evil about what we've done there. I absolutely know, because I'm a coffee snob, that if I'd asked another 10 or 50 people, they would have all said, "Yeah, this is the best coffee on the Gold Coast." He wasn't paying me enough money to go and interview 50 people. So, I'm not telling anyone to lie, but by the same token, if you know what your headline is true, no matter how many people you ask, and there's nothing wrong with saying voted best coffee on the Gold Coast. And I've said it to everyone. I mean, when I do my seminars, I will be writing third person, of course, and these days ChatGPT helps me to do this, but I'll say, "Come and see the number 1 marketing guy in the country." When they come into the room, I say, "Look, you might have thought that was a show off, but after you spend 2 or 3 hours with me, I think you'll probably be close to saying that yourself. But let me ask you this: if I had put on my Facebook advertisements, give up Thursday night between 6 and 8:30 to come and see the guy that's been voted the 21st best marketing guy in Australia, would you be here?" And of course, the answer is no. Right? So if you're good, there's nothing wrong with showing off. And I happen to think I've got a bit of an X factor with this stuff that isn't very common out there. So therefore, I excuse my boastfulness by showing case studies. I always believe that you can predict the future by having a look at someone's past, and they've only got to jump on my website and go to the case studies page, and they will be there for about a month scrolling through case study after case study after case study. So when I put my hand up and boast that I'm not bad at this stuff, then it's not just boasting. There's a lot of evidence behind that.
And you've partially answered the next question I was about to ask you. You talked about case studies. Now, when it comes to websites, how can businesses utilize direct marketing to sell through their website? So you just gave an example of case studies, but what are some other fantastic methods of using a website to truly utilize this form of marketing when it comes to offering these incentives to the public, these Happy Meal toys?
These days, because if someone goes to a website, they tend to, of course, land on the homepage most of the time, unless you've directed them to a sub-page because that suits you. But, most of the time they're on the homepage. And, the principles that I was mentioning for your Facebook ads really follow through to your website. I mean, your homepage, I used to look after a lot of magazine titles here in Australia, most of which were women. So therefore it was the Woman's Weekly magazine, it was the New Idea magazine, it was the TV Guide magazine. So what happened is that the most important page in that magazine, no surprise, is the front cover. And so, we always would use the royal family as much as we possibly could on the front cover of a women's magazine because it sold more copies than using Clooney. And then what we would do is that we'd recognise that if the front cover is the number 1 page in the magazine, that would be the page that we spend most time on. So I always say to people, your front cover of your magazine, of course, on your website is your homepage. And I keep on saying to them, look, don't go wasting time or space by saying, welcome to our website. Nobody does that in the magazine. The magazines don't, on on their front cover say, welcome to the Woman's Weekly magazine, right? Just come out with your Elvis found headline. So if it happens to be, again, a weight loss company, then at the very top of your website, the most important real estate is that top panel, particularly now that, 80 to 90% of people are watching this on a phone. It has to be your killer headline. And that would be, if you're interested in losing X number of pounds within 10 days, then you're at the right place. Or you may have a testimonial from heaven, and that would be a lady who is, shown before and after. And she says, this is the best weight loss program I've ever seen in my life. This is what's happened to me in 2 weeks. And of course, you see the before and after. And as you know, because you're in the game, Christian, you can do before and afters on the website, whereas Facebook tends to stop you doing that. And then as you scroll down the page, then what you want to do is have a data capture. So therefore, on every homepage, if you don't have a data capture facility, then you should go and, get therapy. Okay. So you spend all that money getting someone to your website. You want to make sure that you really nail it by saying to them, listen, I'm going to give you a free something. Now, whether it's a free report or whether it's a free product or a free sample or whatever it might be, but you don't want them to leave your website without actually leaving the details. And I'm telling you, and you probably see this because you're in the game, 80% plus of homepages have no data capture facility on them, which is just madness. You've spent all that money on Facebook or recommendations or referrals or whatever to get them onto your website, and you've not captured who they are. So you can't remarket them. And then the other thing is, of course, is that you would have video on the homepage of your website. And the reason I say that is because we've all got the attention span of a millennial these days. Okay. So I've got 6 millennial children, and I think they've probably got a better attention span than me, really. And so therefore you want to, avoid them having to read lots and lots and lots of text by having a video. Now, if you're not comfortable in front of a camera or you're ugly, okay, get someone else to do it for you. And you can get people who are reasonably professional on Fiverr these days. And so therefore there's no excuse for you not having a video. And of course, the other panel that would probably come, panel 4, panel 5 on your homepage would be testimonials, and not written testimonials. People think that you've just written that and put a name at the bottom of it. Okay. So there's a lot of skepticism with written testimonials. You need video testimonials, and the video testimonials have to be what we call shit to gold. So they've got to say how their life was shit before you or your product came along, and now it's gold because they've used you or they've used your product. And yeah, that's pretty much the vital components going from top to bottom.
And you said that 80% of homepages do not have a data capture feature. I would say 80% of homepages, or more than that, don't have any of the stuff that you've just described. And I've done my competitive research over the years for the Houston area, and a lot of my competitors in the area do not do any of this. I've done a lot of these things you said here. I have several touch points for data capture. There's a section on our homepage where it asks questions about specific needs. We don't have any video testimonials, but the written testimonials that we do have are imported straight into our website from Google via Trust Index. And it also has a badge on it verifying that the reviews are real because they come straight from Google. But on top of that, a lot of these rules that you've described are also applicable and also just as important for landing page design. People who use PPC ads, they need to have a landing page that follows every single one of these rules that you've just described. They have to have the data capture, of course. There's got to be some social proof, and then your Elvis found headline as well, which I notice on landing pages is often at the top, directly beside a contact form to capture data.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want them to have to scroll too far before you capture their data. You want to get their attention with whatever it is, the before and after headline, or, the benefit-driven headline, the Elvis found headline, and then bang, hopefully this doesn't sound too rude, but whilst they got hard nipples, get them to give you their details. And you don't want them to have to work hard for that. And obviously, look, I think gone are the days that a free report is as powerful as it used to be. I mean, back in the day, a free report on, how to lose weight within 10 days was something. But I think you need to go a little bit further these days. And obviously, it just depends on what your product or service is. But I think, don't get me wrong, if it's a free report on how to, whatever that might be, then it's better than nothing. But I'd try and dig a bit deeper in terms of your freebies to see if you can give them something a bit sexier than just a free report.
Right. And that falls back on what we were talking about in episode 76. Just give them that metaphorical Happy Meal toy, something that they know that they could take and enjoy. And as we discussed in that episode, it's usually something that's unrelated to the service being provided. Now, my next question for you about that is, when it comes to promoting incentives to make offers look more attractive, what's the best type of eye candy to use to surround these offers to really beef up their image?
What do you mean by eye candy? So
whether it's graphics or buzzword or certain phrases that grab people's eye, like the words free in big red letters, or certain types of photos or graphics, things along those lines.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Look, the word free obviously is, one of the most most powerful words in the English language. So therefore, if you are giving away something that's complimentary, try not to use the long word complimentary, just use free. It's easy and it's very powerful. In terms of the imagery, I mean, you know that when you go to McDonald's and you see the picture of the hamburger up on the menu, the hamburger you get really doesn't look anything like that. It's okay. And so I guess the best way to answer that is, without, again, doing something that's deceitful, just make sure that your photography of whatever your product or service is, top level, because you want to make sure that when they are experiencing your homepage or your landing page, they're seeing something that's making your product or your service look good. And again, what I would suggest you do in terms of graphics, the two words that I think are very, very powerful is before and after. And so therefore, if you have a product that transforms people's lives or transforms their backyard because you're a good lawn mowing service or whatever it might be, I think what you need to do is to highlight as much as possible what their life looked like before and what their life looks like after. So don't be frightened to even use the before and afterwards.
That's something that I recommend to clients all the time. If they are in that business, for example, I have a client who is in roofing. I've told him the best way to truly capture the essence of their work is to show a before and after picture of how his client's roof looked before he reshingled it or rebuilt it. That's what I suggested that he do. Something like that, because that really does give the customer more confidence to buy when they see that you can do the job versus you just talking about it.
Yeah. And look, I guess a motherhood recommendation I would make to anyone, and this is not just with their websites, but it's just across all of their marketing, is that it's fine to position yourself as the number one or the best, or you're in the top 5 or whatever it might be. But, whilst that is okay, if you've got the history to back that up, the most powerful form of advertising for any one of us is referrals. In other words, somebody who says your product or your service is the best that they've come across. Whether you're the fastest or whether you are the most accomplished or whether you are a wizard because you can just do this, that, and the other within a short period of time, if you get other people saying how good you are, then that's much more powerful than you saying how good you are.
Yes, that's exactly right. I've heard that from many different people over the years, and I started CDG based off of word of mouth referrals because at first it was just a hobby where I was just helping people build their websites, but now it ended up turning into a business because people were just that satisfied with it. Going back to digital marketing in general, when writing a digital marketing campaign, how should incentives be promoted and presented to the public eye to ensure they do not get overlooked or ignored? So we talked about websites and how it's important to be very straightforward. I'm a very straightforward guy myself. Whenever I'm looking for something, I don't want to have to dig through it everywhere. So in any digital marketing campaign, how do you make sure that the offer gets noticed, but the incentive being offered with it does not get overlooked or ignored?
So you're talking about a campaign on Facebook or Instagram, that sort of thing? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, anything like on social media.
Okay, just follow the McDonald's formula again. I know it sounds too easy to come back to the Happy Meal toy, but really just follow McDonald's formula. Just have a look at what they do. When the Olympics come along and they get you to collect the 4 different colors of the Olympic glasses, and you can get one glass when you buy whatever the meal is, they will have up front and center collect the Olympic glasses promotion, and the hamburger is number 2. Okay. Now, the thing is, you might say, oh, well, hang on, at the end of the day, my product is number 1. Well, it is to you. There's no question about that. But I can assure you that when we had the campaign Down Under for the Greater Building Society, and I know in the last interview you had me talking, I was lucky enough to get Jerry Seinfeld to market that for us for 3 years. But even before I got Seinfeld to come on TV Down Under to say, get a home loan and get a free vacation, it was very, very, very crazily successful for 4 or 5 years before I got Seinfeld involved. And all that we did is that we said, get a home loan and get a free vacation. And they took billions and billions and billions of extra dollars in home loans from people swapping from the Wells Fargo style bank across to the Greater. And the reason is because it was an unusual approach for a bank, which is normally a very staid industry. I mean, normally a bank's commercial is 101. It's somebody smiling at the bank manager across the counter back in the old days, but now in the digital world that we live in, it's essentially someone, having a good time on their laptop with their bank. What we did with this particular bank is that we had people in a sepia tone, basically opening up an email or opening up a letter from the bank and just seeing lots of fees. You pay for putting money in, you pay for taking money out. And basically the thing that we did was that within, 4 or 5 seconds, that ad went to full color. So it went from almost black and white to full color. And you see those same people playing on a beach in Hawaii, because the thing is they swapped their home loan to this bank and they got a free vacation. And so what we did is that we actually concentrated on the Happy Meal toy, the free vacation. So all I would say to you is have a look at what McDonald's do, because I just copied the McDonald's formula. That's all I did, okay? We took their eyes off the price. Doesn't mean to say that your product gets hidden. It's just that you give more emphasis to the Happy Meal toy than you do to your product.
Right. And that McDonald's formula is so easy to remember. I feel that a lot of people just don't understand it because they're not marketing experts. A lot of people are experts in whatever they specialize in that they use as the foundation for their business. But again, it falls back to what I said in that episode as well. You have to know how to run a business to be in business. And marketing is one of the most important things all business owners need to know.
And really, outside of your product being reasonably good or your service being reasonable, it is the number one. I mean, the butcher who's sitting opposite the other butcher, so there's two butchers in the main street of town, the butcher that has the sausage sizzle outside his butcher shop at school pickup time is the butcher who's always going to win, because mum will be told by the kids, we've got to go past that butcher to get a free sausage sandwich. It's as simple as that. And look, we had a client recently and it was a hotel and his rooms are pretty much the same as every other hotel on the Gold Coast. And yeah, you can argue that, well, the Hilton brand is better than the Sofitel brand or better than the Marriott or whatever. But the fact is a hotel room is a hotel room. So I convinced him that when anybody checked in, the moment they got to their room, there'd be a knock on the door and it would be someone from downstairs dressed in their bow tie and says, thank you very much for staying at our hotel. We would like to give you these chocolate-coated strawberries. And there's a plate of chocolate-coated strawberries. So we're talking that the chocolate's just been poured over the strawberries before they went in the elevator. It blows people away. What do you think when anybody comes back to the Gold Coast they're going to do? Are they going to go to any hotel or are they going to go to the chocolate strawberry hotel?
They're going to go to the one that offers the chocolate strawberries, because that is the perfect example of offering a Happy Meal toy to a valued customer.
And do you know what the strawberries cost? The strawberries cost them per room $2.60, okay? Because obviously they buy strawberries in bulk and the chocolate sauce is just chocolate sauce, for goodness sake. And so for $2.60, they have created a wow factor of all wow factors. Now, that is the easiest thing in the world to copy. I mean, so was get a home loan, get a free vacation. It's pretty easy to copy that. Guess what? Because most people are left-brainers, they're operationally minded, they're not marketing minded, then they don't copy it. I mean, sometimes these things are just staring you in the face. If I see a campaign and it's working, then, I steal the campaign. I just do it. But, most people don't because they're caught up in their technician mindset. And that is they're a good butcher, baker, candlestick maker, but they don't think marketing.
That's right. It just falls back on what I was saying. Marketing is something that you must know if you want to be in business, along with several other things that are related to business. People focus on their trade, but they don't focus on the aspects they need to know to keep a business running like a well-oiled machine. Yes, JD, these were some fantastic stories. I hope that a lot of people will understand that all they need to do is follow that McDonald's formula, understand that the customer is number one, and put a focus on the incentive versus the initial offer, and that'll just bring more sales to their business. Thank you, JD. You've shared some great information, just like in the previous episode, and some wonderful examples that I hope everybody out there will follow. Thank you for coming back to BizCast again. It was a pleasure to have you once again.
My pleasure.
Well, I hope you have a great day, and thank you for listening to the CDG BizCast. We hope that you've learned a lot from this episode. If you would like to learn more about the Institute of Wow, please visit the Institute of Wow at theinstituteofwow.com. Thanks again, JD. You've been a great guest, and we look forward to having you on future BizCast episodes.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Christian.